guys, so I'm here with my June reading wrap up. It seems crazy to me that it's July. We're like halfway through the year. It's absolutely crazy. The time has just flown by. In June I read 8 books. It's not too bad, but if you watched my video from last week, which was my top 5 books I haven't read yet but really should have, I explained that I've been in a bit of a funk recently. I don't know what has started this funk. There was 1 week in June where no video went up, and that's because I just had no motivation to film. That has never happened to me before. I have, even if a video has gone up late, a video has gone up. I don't really know what this, funk came from. Then I also had the trouble of not knowing what to read. Like, I had the motivation to read, I wanted to be reading, but everything I looked at I was like, nah, don't want to read that, nah, don't want to read that. So yeah, I don't know where this has come from. It's something that is still kind of affecting me, but we shall see. So, on to the books that I read. I read 8 books, all of them were physical books. So here we go. The first book that I read in June was Crescendo. Oh, that's got an awful glare. Crescendo by Becca Fitzpatrick. I just sort of, when I was not knowing what to read, I was looking at my shelves and I looked at this series and I was like, I've had that series for such a long time. I've bought all of the books and I haven't read them all. I read Hush Hush when it first came out, when I was on riding my Twilight high, after I finished Twilight, and I wanted to read everything paranormal. I liked Hush Hush. A lot of people didn't, but I quite liked it. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to read Crescendo. It made me wonder why I liked Hush Hush. Nora is just, excuse my language, but she is a whiny bitch. She's just a drama maker. Like, she'll say one thing, then do another, think one thing, then say another. She is just such an irritating character that just is an appalling example of womankind. She really irritated me in this. I wish we had Patch's point of view and just other people's points of view so that she wouldn't be so annoying. But I read that fairly quickly, but I only gave it 2 out of 5. And then after I finished this, I was just like, I just have to plough through the rest of them so I can put this series sort of like behind me, so I can actually go, I've completed a series. I really wanted to complete at least 1 series, so I then picked up the 3rd book, Silence. This one was slightly better than Crescendo, not very much. I only gave it 2.5 out of 5. It just seemed like pointless. Like, just nothing much happens. Like, even now I can barely remember what happened, and it was the same for Finale. Really, this one got 2 out of 5. Like, with this series, I struggle with the lore behind it. It doesn't seem to make much sense. It's not really developed. There's just these fallen angels, like, all over the place. And I don't really feel like the lore around it is sound. This book was completely pointless. Everything could have been wrapped up in this book. Some should have been shocking twists were just completely pointless. So yeah, I mean, I read Hush Hush and I really liked Hush Hush, but the rest of the series, no. I then read, give me a second, Half a King by Jo Abercrombie. My actual book for this is downstairs, so I just have the dust jacket. But I have to say, I love these like blue inside flaps. They are such, like, they're almost violet. They are so beautiful. I gave this one 3 out of 5. I did like it. It was quite a good fantasy read. It was quite slow for me to get into. Took me a long time before I started to enjoy it. It's about a prince. His father has died, and so has his brother. He shouldn't really have inherited because he is the youngest son. So he's basically thrust upon this throne. People don't think that he will be a good king because he was studying to sort of be a monk, and he has a crippled hand. So basically they look at him and they think weak. He's not a leader. Basically he is betrayed and he's sold into slavery, and he sort of has to get out of slavery, and then basically he has to go back to his kingdom and take back his throne. How he does it and his journey and who he meets along the way was really, really good. I really, really enjoyed it once it got to that point, once they were doing something, like it was proactive, then I was really enjoying it. But like the first 150 pages or so were really slow for me, but it really picked up, and I'm really looking forward to the rest of the series. I have to admit I had to stop reading this book at one point because it actually brought tears to my eyes. Right towards the end it actually brought tears to my eyes. That does not happen very often. Like I've said before, it's not that I don't have a heart, it's just very hard to move me to tears. But this was really, really good. I really enjoyed it. After reading that, I wanted something contemporary, so I finally picked up Easy by Tamara Webber, a new adult novel. Really, really enjoyed this one. It's about a girl called Jacqueline whose boyfriend breaks up with her. At first she's like really, really depressed, but she started to fail a class, so she has to be tutored. Then she meets this boy, and it's kind of getting over her breakup, meeting someone else. There is some darker elements with references to sexual assault, and it was really well handled. It showed a lot of different perspectives. I really enjoyed this book. I would have liked it to be an alternating perspective contemporary, a bit like Pushing the Limit, something like that. But Tamara has just released Unbreakable, which is the same story in Lucas's, who is the guy in this, his point of view. I do want to read it, but I think my problem with doing it that way round is that the story then becomes very repetitive, because you are essentially reading the same thing over again. Instead of reading it concurrently, you are like essentially reading the same book over again. But I am going to read it because I enjoyed this book. I then decided I would complete another series, and I read Of Neptune by Anna Banks, which is the third and final book in the Serena trilogy. I really loved the first two books. I loved the lore around it. I loved the idea of like the mer people, but they weren't actually called mer people. I loved the idea of the gifts. I loved the idea that our protagonist was sort of a half-breed that couldn't shift. I loved all the characters. I have to admit, I was really excited for this one. This one I found was not as good. I just felt it could have been wrapped up in two books. This book created a lot of unnecessary drama. Like a love triangle was thrown in there, like some angst, and it just didn't feel necessary. It felt jarring when you compared it to the other books in this series, but it was still good. I mean, like the two main characters are like separated for most of this book, and I just didn't appreciate that, actually. So I gave it 3 out of 5. Still definitely recommend the trilogy though, but the first two books are definitely the strongest. Then I picked up A Midsummer's Nightmare by Cody Keplinger. I read The Duff by her, must be like 2 years ago now. Absolutely loved it. One of my favourite books, definitely one of my favourite contemporaries. And this had been sitting on my shelf for well over a year now. So I thought, you know what, sod it, I'm going to read it. It was a very, very fast read. I read it in about, 2.5 days, something like that. It was not as good as The Duff for me personally. I did enjoy this. It's about a girl who's going to spend the summer with her dad, only to find out that, he's getting remarried. He's going to have these stepkids. And then there's the awkward moment where she finds out that she actually slept with the guy that's going to become her stepbrother on graduation. It was really, really good. I loved the situation. I thought it was really different for a young adult book to tackle. I love Cody Keplinger's humour. I love her writing style. I love that her characters, even though Whitley was a little bit annoying and she could be a real bitch, you could see where that was coming from. My only issues really was I wanted to see more of her and Nathan. You didn't really see much of them together, so I didn't really believe their sort of whole connection thing. And then the whole situation with her dad, I felt was resolved far too quickly, considering the massive feelings that Whitley has and all the anger that she has. I felt like it was resolved way too quickly and unrealistically. But I still gave it 3 out of 5, I think. 3 out of 5. And then the last book that I read in June was Crown of Midnight by Sarah J. Maas. It has taken me like a year to get round to this book. When I read Throne of Glass before it came out, I absolutely loved it. Couldn't wait for Crown of Midnight. And then it's taken me this long to read it. Absolutely loved it. Zelena Sardothian has to be one of the most kick-ass characters in YA fiction. I love her. This book made me smile, made me laugh, and it also broke my heart. There were moments in this where I honestly didn't think I was going to recover from the heartbreak. It put me through highs, it put me through real lows. I don't want to say too much, obviously it's a book 2, don't want to spoil it. But it was absolutely fantastic, 5 out of 5 star read. Without a doubt the best book that I read in June. Absolutely fantastic. If you have not read Throne of Glass, you need to get on that shabizzle because it's genuinely amazing. So that was everything I've read in June. Have you read any of these? Do any of these appeal to you? Let me know in the comments down below, and I'll see you guys soon. Happy reading.